Back in August, I did an initial video of the SIG P320 M17. I explained why I got it, at least in general terms, and I also explained some of the concerns I had with the gun and asked viewers to make suggestions on how to rectify those. You put those in your comments, I took them to heart, and lo and behold, it's here in front of you. We're going to talk about them. Stick around. Hey, thanks for joining me today while we look at the upgraded SIG M17. I do want to say that because this gun is modified, particularly because the trigger is modified, that means YouTube is going to say it's not suitable for all advertisers, which means it's effectively demonetized, which means it won't show up in sidebars, which means it's generally not going to get a whole lot of attention unless this video can get some traction. So do me a favor, and the longer you watch the video, even if you just play it in the background, but the longer you watch it, the more it helps the analytics. The more comments I get, the more it helps the analytics. And if you can share this video and get more people watching it, that helps move it up in the sidebar despite the fact that it's being demonetized. And no, I'm not starting a Patreon account, so some of this stuff is obviously just for free. Anyway, the M17 that I have in front of you here is a whole lot different than the one we showed 2 months ago. Back then, I explained why I got the M17, because I wanted the fire control group with a manual safety. Again, I'm a 1911 guy. I mentioned also that I had a little problem with the trigger shape on, not the trigger pull itself or the pre-travel or over-travel, but the trigger shape itself. I just didn't really care for that on the initial M17. Too much hook to it for my particular taste. The grip also just didn't really reach out and grab me. I didn't care for the grip module on it. The slide stop lever, again, I'm a 1911 guy. I'm used to working that with my secondary thumb. I can also do it with my primary thumb, but it just didn't seem to fit right for me for on the M17. The takedown lever, I said, yeah, that's about where my thumb falls. Can we do something more with that? And finally, since this does come optics ready, I asked about optics, and lo and behold, you'll see that it's pretty obvious. It's got an optic on it. You see the trigger is different, and if you look closely, you'll see the slide stop, or excuse me, the takedown lever is also a little bit different. So we're going to talk about all of those various modifications as we go through this. Just to recap, of course, the M17 does come with, let's see, we got a 21 round mag there. It comes with a couple of those. It also comes, by the way, this is a dummy round. It's a stainless steel dummy round by Steelworks, and I use these in my training for ball and dummy exercises. I think I've got a video coming out on that. Anyway, stainless steel, but there's just a strike surface on it here, but there's no primer or anything in here. So anyway, it is a dummy round in the magazine. This is the standard 17 round magazine that comes with it. And again, I mentioned the 21 round mag, and other than that, it was attractive to me, not just because of the capacity and the fact it comes with 3 mags, but I like the idea that I can swap the fire control group. And spoiler alert, more on that one later. Anyway, so to address those concerns, again, I like the manual safety, which is ambidextrous on this, and that is the reason I got the M17. Again, I like generally a lot about it, mainly the modularity of it. The trigger shape, well, actually, before I even get to the trigger, it's obvious that the grip module has changed. It's got a Wilson grip module on it. Certainly like it. It doesn't have quite the same contour that the original does. You can see that the magazine is just a little bit different shape than the base of the grip. The Wilson grip module does have a nice mag well on it and fits my hand so much better than the original grip module that came on the M17, and not an expensive upgrade. A couple of viewers suggested go to an Icarus Precision. I like the feel of those. I like how they're made. They're aluminum instead of polymer like this one is, but versus $65 here versus what, $300 or $400 for an Icarus grip, nah, I just couldn't swing that one. That would have shot my entire, more than my entire upgrade. Okay, so I like the Wilson grip on it. Still does have a rail on it. You can get this in coyote tan or black. You can get the grip modules with or without the cutout for the safety. Again, M17's got a safety, so I had to get the one with. And because the coyote tan PVD coated slide, by the way, this thing does it holds stains on it. It doesn't clean up very nicely. But because of the two-tone color of the Coyote tan, flat dark earth, whatever you want to call it, I had to get the tan or FDE or Coyote Wilson Combat grip module. Lots of texture to it. It's not super aggressive texture, but it does really hold my hand nice, and the shape of it just works really well compared to the original. All right, you can see the trigger is different too. And again, I liked how the other trigger felt. I just didn't like the shape of it. It just didn't seem to fit right on my trigger finger, because when I shoot, my finger is almost scraping. In fact, it is scraping the bottom of the trigger guard. It's as low as I can get it. On a pivoting trigger, that gets it farther away from the pivot point, which makes the trigger feel a little bit lighter. This trigger still comes in at under 3 pounds, and I didn't change anything internally. I only changed the trigger shoe itself. This is an Armory Craft dual adjustable trigger. That means that it is adjustable for pre-travel as well as over travel, and they make straight, and they also make a slightly curved. I've got the slightly curved on my 365 XL, and I like it, so I got the same general shape for this. However, it is absolutely necessary to use the blue Loctite. That's understood, and it also says that pre-travel screw is not to be used on EDC, carry, or home defense firearms. It is intended for sporting and recreational purposes only. So let's take a real quick look at the trigger. And by the way, some people have complained. By the way, this gun right now is empty, and again, the round in here is a dummy round. Some people have complained that as you work the trigger on the 320, you can see how the back of the slide goes down just a little bit. Obviously, it changes your visuals for aiming when you're dry practicing. However, just put a magazine in with a round in it, and that goes away. It's the trigger bar action on the striker that's actually pulling down the slide a little bit, which would then release the striker. But with a magazine in with a round in, I think it'll even work with an empty magazine. Yeah, with anything in there that's going to put pressure on the bottom of that slide, then it's a non-issue. So when you see it, when you're just dry practicing, you're going to see it, but when you're really shooting, it doesn't. All right, so this trigger is got a screw up in here for pre-travel and a screw back down in here for over-travel. And right now, you can see I've got it almost all the pre-travel backed out of it, not quite. And it's still going to be just a little bit of over travel. It's just a clean, crisp break, and just got it set to just a tiniest bit of over travel on it. And reset is right there. The trigger stops and it is reset. So I like the feel of the pre-travel adjustability and the over-travel adjustability. The trigger itself is wide and flat. It does have some striations on it. I'd go with a smooth trigger personally, but it does work. This is available in a whole lot of different colors. I just put red in there just because it makes it obvious that it's not a stock trigger. All right, so much for the trigger. I do like it. Again, it comes in consistently at about 2 pounds 10 ounces, but I didn't change anything internal, just the trigger shoe itself. All right, we mentioned the slide stop lever, and that is back here. I'm going to show you a little bit of a difference here. This is the standard one. I don't know if you can see how much or how little it protrudes, and I don't want to show that gun just yet, at least not all of it. And I don't know if you can see it in the video or in the camera here, but the slide stop lever on the 320 on the left is the stock. The one on the 320 M17 on the right does protrude from the frame quite a bit more. So that's nice to be able to get a hold of. I can get a hold of it with left hand real easy. I'm right-handed. I can get a hold of it with my right thumb. However, I'm probably going back to the stock one, mainly because, again, I shoot like a 1911. If I've got a gun with a safety on it, my thumb rides that safety, so I always know exactly where that safety is. And when I shoot it, my thumb's on top, keeping it pressed down. Problem with that, of course, is on this extended slide stop lever, my thumb is also pushing down on slide release. so it's not staying back. So I'm probably going back to the stock. I may experiment with it a little bit more, see if I can. I hate to have to change my grip just to accommodate that. But anyway, we'll see where we go with that. That slide stop lever is Wilson Combat extended 320 slide release, slide stop lever, whichever you wish to call it. And again, it does the job. It's easy to get to, and of course, it's fully ambidextrous. But we'll see where it goes with that. All right, another thing that I had a little, I won't say a complaint about, but my thumb forward shooting position, my secondary hand thumb. I don't have a weak hand, by the way. I don't know about you folks, but I don't have a strong hand and a weak hand. My right hand is a little stronger than my left hand, but I wouldn't want to say that I'm an old guy. I'm not as strong as I used to be. But I'm not going to call this a weak hand. I don't want my brain thinking it's weak. So it's my secondary or support hand. And it falls right where that takedown lever would be. So this is an Armory Craft. They call it their sport takedown lever. And again, if you can see the profile there, it does have a little bit of a shelf on it. So again, I can ride my secondary thumb on that. And again, this is Armory Craft, not Wilson Combat. So the trigger and the takedown lever are both Armory Craft. Good place for the secondary thumb. And let's see, what else did I talk about? I think I mentioned the magazine release, the original one. And maybe I'll roll some footage in on this one. The original one was didn't protrude quite as much, so I can access this a little easier with the Wilson Combat extended magazine release, and it definitely is easy to get a hold of. And let's see what else I have. So that gets us down to, I guess, the final concern is optics. By the way, this thing shot really, really well with iron sights. You go back to that original video, I'll post it, I'll link to that up here. You can see how well this thing shot with iron sights. And I didn't time my splits on the plates between iron sights and optics. In fact, I wasn't even going to put an optic on to start with, because when you put an optic on, you lose your rear sight, at least on this one. They have made some changes on some of the others, and they may have even done it on the newest versions of the M17, but you lose your rear sight when you take the plate off and put an optic on. And again, I shoot just about as well one way or the other. I wasn't going to put one on, however. A good friend of mine just happened to have the Leupold Deltapoint Pro in Coyote Tan or flat dark earth, whatever you want to call it, and he wasn't going to use it anymore, sold it to me at a good price. Well, hey, I've got a gun that it'll fit on, and this optics cut is for the Deltapoint Pro. Problem with it, and if you've seen enough of my other red dot videos, you know that I mentioned two kinds of red dots, those that have failed and those that will fail. That's why I like backup iron sights. I would not carry this on the street without it. Now, the Deltapoint Pro, you can remove this little plate here, and you can actually put a backup iron on that is somewhat adjustable. Problem with it is it won't co-witness with the front sight. Now, yeah, I can change the front sight also. And even with that, there's enough room inside my holster from Muddy River Tactical that, by the way, I paid for that holster. They didn't send it to me for free. I bought it off the website like anybody else would. Also bought a magazine pouch. And of course I had to get them in something that matched the gun, right? But anyway, there's enough room inside that holster to still add a taller front sight if I ever wish to go that route. Not sure I will, because again, I don't plan on carrying this gun, certainly not as a defensive tool. For me, it's going to be a range, I won't say a range toy by any means, but I'm going to use it on the range. Anyway, so I put the Leupold Deltapoint Pro on there, and this has the 6 MOA dot, which looks a little bright here, of course, just because the way the camera works on it. And 6 MOA dot makes it real, I won't say difficult, but certainly pretty much covers up the 6-inch plate at 50 yards. And again, I'm a little more accurate at precision accuracy with a red dot than I am with iron sights, a little. Am I necessarily faster with a red dot? No, I don't think I've worked enough with it to really say that I'm faster shooting with a red dot. In fact, I did some side-by-side with it here a while back, and not with this gun, but with others. And when everything worked right, I was faster with the red dot running the plates. But not everything always worked right, and therefore I was more consistent with the irons. But again, I think it's just training and how much time I spent with it. So, right now it's wearing the Leupold Deltapoint Pro, and Again, I think at 50 yards with the Delta point on it, it took me 2 shots to get the 6-inch plate at 50 yards, but also with the iron sights, it took me 2 shots to get the 6-inch plate at 50 yards. So I'm just as accurate and just about as quick with or without. But again, I got a good opportunity to put the sight on it, and there it is. Now, one other thing about this particular gun, the fact that it's modular was what attracted me, with the idea that I can take the fire control unit out of this and I can put it in a different frame, different slide, and basically have 2 pistols for the price of 1. However, things have a tendency to snowball. And again, I'm not going to expose everything here, but I have a video coming out shortly on another fire control unit for another P320. But again, that's not what we're talking about in this video. But that did kind of morph into that. Right, so a little longer than I have a tendency to go to long videos anyway. Sorry about that. But this is my M17 that works really well for me, with the exception maybe of that extended slide stop lever. Like the trigger, like the takedown lever thumb rest, obviously like safeties. Love the Wilson Combat Grip module on it, working well within the Muddy River tactical holster, and nice range gun. I'm attracted to the SIG 320 line of guns, and boy, they got what, a dozen or more on their website right now. They got some really nice guns. In fact, that's what got me into this originally. I found one at Armory Arms that was a carry gun that had an optic on it. Did not have a safety though. I hummed and hawed, almost bought the thing even without the safety, until I decided, oh, maybe I'll try to sort of build my own. So here it is. This is what I built. Thanks for your patience and staying with me through this video. And again, if you can share this, anything at all to get it out, because it's not going to be monetized, and I'm not making any money off of these videos. So anything that you can do to help it at least cover my cost of ammo would be highly appreciated. That's it. Thanks for joining me.